In a world full of distractions, there is one big question on every dog owner's lips.
How do I become more than just the person holding the other end of the leash?
We all get dogs with a dream in mind, a vision of the future. And if right now your everyday reality isn't quite that picture you had in mind, you are in the right place.
It really doesn't have to be this way.
You absolutely can and will be more to your dog than just the person who gets in between them and the world.
The key is you need to be more sexy.
More sexy than the neighbourhood cat.
More sexy than the jogger in the park.
More sexy than that half-eaten hamburger they just found on the floor.
And yes, even more sexy than the dog across the road.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Lauren.
Together we're Absolute Dogs.
And you're listening to the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast.
Welcome to the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast, the podcast that troubleshoots your dog training struggles so that you can live the life that you deserve with your dog.
Now, today we have a real life problem, a real life struggle, as we would call it in the Game Changer community. And this has come straight out of the Game Changer community, the Sexier Than a Squirrel community. And it's Khaleesi Parrott. And she says, help. Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm doing something wrong, starting to get to the frustration point. And actually, I've lost my temper in the last 24 hours, which really can't have helped our relationship. Bonnie used to be amazing. Nothing would distract her from me. But now everything and everyone is just better than me. She pulls on lead. She's barking at nothing and everything. And this is happening both at home and when we're out. They're jumping up. Oh my goodness, I cannot bear it. None of these used to be a problem. Where did I mess up? What have I done wrong? Why has it changed? I've tried what feels like everything, and any advice from anyone who's got maybe a fantastic puppy as a youngster and then they've turned around 13 months and just decided to show their real true characters. Help, and help some more.
Okay, first of all, this is totally normal. This is nothing to worry about. You have not done anything wrong.
You don't need to be hard on yourself. You don't need to feel like the worst dog owner in the world. You don't need to feel guilty. You don't need to feel bad. You do not need to be having a bad day on this, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think best thing to do, if we give you some tips right now, we do kind of a bit of a tips tennis, and yeah, I think you're going to see some really great results. So first tip that I've got for you is actually less about what to do and more actually about putting into perspective what's going on, and that is that, and this is hopefully everyone will get some value from what I'm about to say, because it applies to everything and it can feel really kind of soul destroying when things go wrong, especially when you don't expect them to go wrong. But working with any dog, working with any behaviour struggle, working with, whether it be off-leash reliability or reactivity or whatever else, right, is when you first start working with your dog, they're predictably bad, right? They don't know anything, or they know some things that are not so great, and you're teaching them, and they're predictably bad. You can assume their behaviour is going to be bad. You know their response is not necessarily going to be the response that you want. You work with them, and they improve. And in turn, what happens is they go from being predictably bad to unpredictably bad, which actually, as humans, we actually find more soul-destroying, more upsetting, and more confusing, because we give them freedom, and sometimes they tell us that was too much freedom by the way that they behave. And so we speak to a lot of people in a very similar situation to you, where actually there have been some maybe soul-destroying moments where they've done something crazy and you're like, I did not see that coming. And that feels far worse than if you knew that they were going to do it and they do it on every walk, just by the fact that you didn't predict it. So first of all, don't worry. Let's put that into perspective. Probably the reason why this is feeling so bad right now is because actually they've improved so much. Certainly from that, 8-week-old puppy, which knew absolutely nothing and you have worked with.
Now, secondly, I think something that's really, really vital, really, really important is actually you quit rehearsing what you don't want.
Yeah.
So actually really limit the opportunity to do all of the things that you don't want. So in the house or out and about, like you've just said, Khaleesi, I think things like like, let's just have a look, jumping up, things like everyone being better than you, pulling on lead. Actually, let's not give opportunities. And I know that might sound really, really sort of crazy. Like, how am I not going to give her an opportunity to, let's say, jump up? Well, actually, what's the proximity to other people? Actually, if the proximity is too close, then yes, she could jump up. So actually, I might not get close for a minute. And I actually might just have her, me and her, I might have her on a double lead. So I've got a little bit more control, maybe a harness or whatever's suitable for you and is kind. So for me, harness, double lead. And actually, I might play distraction sort of proximity games so that she doesn't get the opportunity to be too close to someone. Another one that I might consider would be, I don't know, let's say she's counter surfing. Okay, she gets no access to the counters right now. So actually, she's in either a different room, or she's behind a stair gate, or she's given a boundary or a crate or a puppy pen or a safe space. But what she's not given is opportunity to rehearse what I don't want. Last one, going for a walk and pulling on lead. Okay, for a minute, maybe I take her in the vehicle. So she gets from the house to the vehicle. I drive her to the spot I'm going to go. I go there, I play some games, I get her straight out. I play some games on a long line. I don't even get her or give her an opportunity to pull, and then I put her back in the car. And if we have car problems, then maybe I just play car games in the garden or in the driveway or wherever I am. So we have to kind of ditch the routine of this is normal and this is what normal people have, to actually this is what I need and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, next tip that we've got for you. All of those struggles that you describe all relate to over-arousal. They all relate to that arousal level being high, whether it be excitement or fear. There's high arousal there leading to your dog making these choices. Now, what we need instead is calmness. But the thing is, there are really, there are 2 or 3 elements to calmness. The first element of calmness is, are we doing things with her that might actually promote excitement, right? So, for example, are we doing really exciting things from the minute she wakes up to the minute she goes to sleep? Or are we going to exciting locations? Or are we going to locations and then doing like really exciting, I don't know, chase the tennis ball?
So I've got a really good example of this one, Tom, and it's slightly specific, but I also know you'll be able to relate to it, and I think everyone at home will as well. A student that we've been talking about with a young Border Collie, who's had some real troubles in the house with the Border Collie and the behaviour in the house. I saw them recently at an event, and they said to me, "Oh my goodness, he's been so good." And I said, actually, I saw him about an hour ago, lunging, barking, reacting at the rings and going crazy. And she said, but he was walking by and he was on a lead. I think the thing we need to remember is that actually a lot of the events that we might consider as not being that bucket filling or stressful or not calm, like for her, she considered that calm because he wasn't actually in the ring. And I'm talking agility, by the way, so I just should clarify that. So it was around an agility environment, whereas she saw that as okay still. So I think we have to have a bit of perspective on it.
We sometimes we sometimes have to take a step back from things that we're doing, and we think, oh yeah, of course, we wouldn't go to a disco as a human and then ask them to turn the music down and tell everybody to be a little bit calmer, right? Slippers. We would not, if we wanted to be calm, if we wanted to be relaxed, we wouldn't go to that environment.
If you wanted a quiet night, a bit settled, and you wanted to be cozy, it probably would be don't attend the party.
Yeah, don't go to the party and then tell everybody else that they need to alter their behaviour. And I know that you're not doing that, but sometimes what we do is we repeatedly go to the locations that are going to create a certain behaviour, and we get frustrated that the behaviour is happening. Now, the second reason why we might be struggling with calmness is because actually you're not doing anything, or the situation's not doing anything, but there's a level of anticipation, right? There's a level of, I'm anticipating a disco, therefore whether the disco happens or not, I'm going to create it. Now, it's the going to create it bit that's the challenge, because whether the disco happens or not, if they create a disco, guess what? The next time they come into that situation, they'll be creating a bigger disco. They'll be creating a bigger party. And so there's massive value. And I it's a really nice reset to actually say, you know what, Bonnie, we're going to pop you on lead, and at every step of the day, I'm going to remind you that this is about calmness. That might be by, having her on lead, walking into a space where you're going to do, I don't know, some work at the computer.
Any opportunity to reinforce calmness, at any opportunity, take it.
I remember I was really struggling with, just to show that this happens to all of us and we all have to take a step back, I was struggling with calmness in the living room at one point.
personally.
As in Bet was struggling with calmness in the living room, and she could get calmness everywhere else, but she couldn't get calmness in the living room. I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything exciting in the living room, not doing any games in the living room even. It's just a calm space. And so I took a step back and I was like, hold on a second. My living room's on like a second floor from the kitchen. And what was happening is Bet was running up the stairs because she rehearsed running up the stairs. Bet thinks that stairs are for running up. She ran up the stairs and then would skid into the living room, and actually that makes total sense.
That was like the event, right?
She'd already, because of the way that she was moving, she created a disco, and she came into that room as, like a moving disco, a portable disco, and therefore calmness was a challenge. And so just for 2 weeks, actually at the bottom of the stairs, I'd pop her on lead. I walked her up slowly up the stairs, and then she went into the living room, onto a bed, and calmness was actually easy just because I got rid of that one bit of the puzzle.
And sometimes it is trying to take yourself out of the sort of close picture and looking at it from above, and actually considering it. I think this is a really important thing, that so many people, you might think you're in a good calm space, but actually there's even more you could have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's seeing the bigger picture rather than the small element there. So I guess the tip would be, absolutely, we need to grow calmness. Calmness isn't just, trying to reward calmness as it happens. It's also thinking about all the things throughout the day that actually turn it into a disco.
Okay, my next piece of advice for you, Khaleesi, I think is where you say you had a fantastic puppy, but they turned 13 months and just started showing all these problems. My dad said something to me the other day, and we were trying to get through something on site, and it was really difficult. And he said, Lauren, this too shall pass. And you know what? I think it's a really nice saying for where you are right now, Khaleesi. It's this too shall pass. And so whether you're in a really brilliant, elated high space, and I can experience this through competition and being at top level competition with my dogs, or whether you're having a really low space like the one you're in right now, Khaleesi, where actually she's really Bonnie's not playing ball as you would expect, this will pass. And so when you're enjoying the highs, what I've learned is really enjoy them, smile, take all of the compliments in the world and celebrate them and be really, really happy about it. Whereas actually, when you're going through sort of the low periods or the periods where it's not so good or it's not happening so well, then actually probably we should realise that this too shall pass. It's not like a permanent place.
Exactly. And in addition to that, when in doubt, when you're going through a difficult time and maybe sometimes you don't know what to do, right? If in doubt, invest in the relationship. Don't worry about, the tackling your specific, don't make every single thing a battle. If you're not sure where to start, actually just grow the relationship. Have some positive interactions with your dog. Maybe even have some time away from your dog as well.
And I think that one's just as valuable, what Tom said about having time away. If you don't know what to do or where to start, sometimes don't do anything for a minute. Yeah. And that's also okay, because I'm one of these people that feels I need to do something all the time. And actually, it's okay sometimes to go, I'm just going to think on that one for a minute. I'm going to think on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, final tip that we've got for you. It's totally normal. There's a level of adolescence in there. We could talk all day about adolescence. We could develop a whole program about adolescence. In fact, we have. It's called Absolute Adolescence, and so it's a big kind of passion area for us. The key here is that as part of a dog coming into adolescence, all of a sudden, their brain will change and they will start to struggle to disengage from things where previously they haven't. This is not you've missed something in your training. Absolutely not. Adolescents, their brain shape changes, their physiology changes, their behaviour and hormones change. It's a normal part of this, and we have to remind them of things. We also have to say, hey, I need to go doubly strong in disengagement.
I mean, I remember a really weird one I had to remind Tokyo. I had to remind him not to wee up people's cars. I was like, you've never been allowed to do that. Why would you try to do that now? And it was absolutely like bang on about 15 months. He decided that was something he did. Yeah. And you know what? It's like weird reminders that you think you always knew not to do this. Yeah. And yet, no, reminders are important.
Yeah. And it's because they still know what to do, but their ability to disengage has decreased to the point where they're like, I've got to do it. And so actually just making the world a bit smaller again and saying, I'm going to remind you of things, I'm going to play games. You've not, what we really want to kind of make clear to you is you've not done anything wrong. The training that you've done absolutely has worked. And now we're entering a different phase where we have to maybe focus on slightly different things, and we have to maybe work on rehearsal quite a bit.
And I think that this is absolutely normal. You're in an amazing space, really, Khaleesi, because you're part of Sexy and a Squirrel.
Yeah.
You're in the Game Changer community. Maybe you're part of the training academy already, and if you're not, maybe that's something that you should definitely look towards doing, because I think you sound like a fantastic owner and student, and within what we do, right, Tom?
Absolutely. And so implement what we've said. Feel great that you are the very best dog owner your dog could ever wish for.
Great that you noticed. Feel great that you're observant, and feel great that actually you're doing a good job. Now, whether you sit down, you grab yourself a cup of tea, a bottle of gin, or whatever it is to sort of say to yourself, I'm okay with this. So you can sit down, right? And celebrate yourself for a minute, take a breath, and then actually go to the next stage.
Yeah, you've got this. That, guys, we will see you in the next episode. And remember, stay sexy. Hey, before you go, have you taken part in the worldwide Sexier Than a Squirrel Challenge?
It's a 25-day online video program, huge energy, amazing community, and over 6,000 people are already taking part.
The only question is, you know where you are today, where do you want to be 25 days from now? Head to absolutedogs.me/sexy.